Hello, my name is Lisa McNair, and I am the younger sister to Carol Denise McNair, one of the four girls killed in the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church. Thank you so much for having me today. Main Street, I consider to be one of my other church homes, so I wish I was there in person with you all, but I'm glad that I'm here today. Today, I'm going to just share with you a little bit about my family and through a PowerPoint I created to let you know a little bit about Denise and the bombing. And then we'll get back on with Pastor and have some Q&A. All right, so this is Denise. This is my dad's favorite picture of her. He shot this of her shortly before she was killed with her little camera. And he didn't even develop it till much later and realized what a gem he had. Denise, as I said, was killed with three other girls. This is Carol Robertson and Addie Mae Collins and Cynthia Wesley. They were all 14 years old and starting their freshman year in high school. Denise was the youngest of the four girls. She was 11 at the time, and the only child that my parents had. They had tried to have other children since they had her. They had her a year after they got married, but for 11 years they tried and had not been successful. So you can imagine how horrible that was to try to have a child and not be able to, and take your child to church one day where they should be safe, and she was killed. But God is good, and he is faithful, and people prayed, and almost exactly a year from the day that she was killed, I was born. And it's a picture of me and Mama. And my mom and dad kept trying because they wanted lots of kids, but they only got three. And 4 years later, she and my dad had my sister Kim. Kim is a local chef here and nutritional health coach here in Birmingham with Biddy's Living Kitchen. The picture on the left that you see is of the basement the day of the bombing. You see the blast was so strong it created a crater. And if you look behind, you see the building across the street, all the windows are blown out. People say that were miles away that they heard and felt the blast. On the right here is a picture many of you may have seen in history when people talked about the bombing. You see history, I see family. This is my grandmother, my mother's mother, my cousin Lynn, my aunt Juanita, my mother's sister, and this is her putting her hands on my mother's neck, trying to console her. They're standing across the street from the church where my granddaddy owned a dry cleaning studio. And this little girl here, who's you see from the back, is my first cousin Lynn. And Denise and Lynn were two sisters' first cousins, two sisters' daughters, and they were first cousins. And they did everything together. They went everywhere together. And we feel, because my auntie didn't go to church that Sunday and she didn't take the children, she had a newborn who was sick, and Lynn didn't go. But we feel like if they had been at church that day, we would have lost two children at the bombing. This is a brick that was found embedded in her skull, and the funeral home people took it out and they put it with her special effects and gave it to my grandmother years later in a box of her special effects. And years later, my grandmother opened it up when all the grandkids and everybody was over to her house and told us that that was what it was. I was at the funeral home today talking with a guy that knew Mama and Denise, and he said that Denise was the first body he'd ever seen that died, and he was around her age, but he did, even though they made her look nice, he did remember some wrinkles in her forehead. So that concrete brick must have been right here in her head. And I don't know why they put that in the box with the effects. I don't know. It's weird, but there it is. This is Sarah Collins Rudolph. What people don't know is there were 5 girls in the bathroom that day, and Sarah was the only one that survived. She had come in the bathroom later, and she was standing just far enough away from them that she didn't get killed. But she did lose an eye and is blind in one eye. And but she has a wonderful testimony. This is her book, The Fifth Girl, that she just wrote, but she's a lovely person. The funerals of the girls were not all together. Dr. King came over the Monday after that Sunday and wanted a mass funeral, but Mrs. Robinson had already prepared her daughter's funeral and she didn't want to change it, and he wasn't going to make her. So the other 3 girls were funeralized together: Denise, Addie Mae, and Cynthia Wesley. And you'll see over here Mama and Daddy coming down the steps behind Denise's casket. Then over here to your right is a picture of Mama at the, they told me this was at the cemetery. And when they were burying her, she just collapsed and someone caught her. And this is Mom and Daddy, and I miss them so much. And I think they're the best parents in the whole world. This picture on the left was a couple of days after she was killed. And the picture on the right is a picture of them at Daddy's 90th birthday party. They could have taught us to hate and hate all white people and just be very bitter and angry, but that wasn't who they were. And they taught us to love and to love everybody. And that's what we do to this day. We take each person as Christ loves us, and he looks at each person individually and loves everybody. I think another reason that we were taught to love was Daddy didn't go to church with Mama. Daddy went to his own church. He went to a small Lutheran church that may have had around 200-300 members, and all the members were Black, except for 5 people. And those people were the pastor, his wife, and their 3 kids. So that gave me the wonderful opportunity to know some white people who didn't hate us, but actually loved us and didn't mean us ill will. And so this is a picture of me at the blessing. I was blessed at the Lutheran church and baptized at the Baptist church with Mama, so I'm covered all the way around. And this is my grandmama. Some of you may have met her if you knew my auntie. And me and Mom and Daddy here. Then this is Pastor Elwanger with his wife, and who is very much with child, and one of Daddy's good friends. So the Elwangers are wonderful people. They were active in the movement. They are still active in the movement. The wife got arrested a couple of years ago, I think during some of the protest march. So they are still have our back and are great allies. My dad believed in public service. He wanted to go into public service, and so he was elected as the first African American in Jefferson County in 1973. And this is a picture of Mama and Daddy and Kim and myself during his swearing-in celebration. There were originally 4 people identified as having killed the girls on that day, but that was 1963. But the first person was not brought to justice until 1977, 14 years later. His name was Dynamite Bob Chambliss, and he was brought to justice by this man I'm standing with, Attorney General of the state of Alabama at that time, Bill Baxley. And he was just determined, even from when he heard about the bombing when he was in college, to one day be in a position to do something about it and about those people who committed that heinous crime. And we are all still friends today. In 1997, Spike Lee did the documentary 4 Little Girls. If you have not seen it, I really, really advise you to please take time in the next few days to go and see it. It can be viewed now on Netflix, Amazon, HBO, and probably some other platforms. It is free. And it's a wonderful documentary that tells about the life of the four girls, their families, and what Birmingham was like during that time. I think, and this is just my personal opinion, that the other people had not been convicted yet of Denise's bombing, and that one question people asked in this movie was, well, that was one person they found. Well, what about the other people? And I think embarrassment set in, and shortly thereafter, the FBI um, reopened the case, and the last two people who were living, were brought to justice. And they were brought to justice by Doug Jones, who was our U.S. Senator, but was the U.S. Attorney at that time. And he brought the last two killers to justice, one in 2001 and 2002. So it took a long time to get justice. Justice was delayed, but it was not denied. In 2013, the four girls were posthumously given the Congressional Gold Medal, which is the highest honor that Congress can give. The Congressional Gold Medal had to be put in the form of a bill, and our Democratic Congresswoman Terry Sewell, and who happens to be Black, and Spencer Backus, who happens to be white and a Republican, both wrote the bill together, and they got it passed unanimously in both houses of Congress. And now y'all know that ain't happened in a long time. And so that gave us the wonderful opportunity to see the president sign the bill. So Mama and I got to go to Washington, D.C. and meet President Obama in the Oval Office, along with some of the other family members and people who were involved in the trial. And this is him signing the bill at the Oval Office. And Mama always, she didn't remember all of the day, but she would often remember that he hugged her and kissed her on her cheek. So that was a wonderful moment that I'll never forget. The bombing is something that affected the whole world. People all over the world heard about the bombing and were just moved by the fact that people would kill children in a church, and thought how horrible it was. So the people of Wales, over there in England, Prince Charles and all those people, decided that they wanted to donate a stained glass window to the church. So this is the window with a black Jesus that they donated. It is very, very large, as you can see by the picture on the right with me and Mama and the pastor of 16th Street at the time, Reverend Cross. And they paid for it to be made and put together and shipped and installed here. And it wasn't the monarchy or the government, it was individual people all got together all over Wales and gave small donations that came up with the money to bring this over to America. And I thought that was just beautiful. This is a picture of Denise and our cousin Lynn and one of our neighbors in our front yard, having a muscular dystrophy fair to raise money for kids with muscular dystrophy. And I thought that was just the cutest thing, that she would take the time to do that. And so I was looking at her funeral program, and this was in the obituary for her. It said, Denise showed great leadership ability and love to be associated with children. She was also fond of helping other people. And I thought that was a great caption for this picture. And this is a picture that I shot of the four statues of the four girls that now stands across the street from the church. It's the 16th Street Baptist Church. They erected these at the 50th anniversary of the bombing of the church. And this girl here, the one in the middle standing on the bench, is Denise, holding up doves. And the doves she's holding is 4 doves. I think that's to represent one for each girl, but there's 6 doves. And those are the 2 little boys who were also shot and killed for no reason later on that day. So that was a horrible day in Birmingham. But the picture also shows this other girl. This is representing Addie Mae Collins. And Sarah Collins, the one who survived, so that was the last thing she recalls before the bomb went out. My sister asked her sister Will she please tie the sash on the back of her dress? And that's the end of my presentation. This is my logo, and I travel the country telling the story, talking about reconciliation, talking about love, and how we must have love and not hate. And it's been a blessing and a gift from God to be able to share this. And I think it's my ministry now, and I'm glad that He allows me for Him to speak through me in these opportunities. So thank you all for your time and watching my presentation.